This is Chicken Ball. Come at us, bro.
Welcome back to the Chicken Ball Pod, the worst show on the internet. I'm your host, Andrew. I'm joined by a phenomenal crew today. Unfortunately, none of them were available. So we've got Mort, Scott, you have Chuck. Chuck is a special guest. I'd like to start by welcoming Chuck from Austin Spurs. Chuck, thanks for coming. I don't know how you top an intro like that.
Yeah, you're welcome. See you guys.
Chuck, tell us that.
Chuck definitely brought the energy.
Yes, exactly. If I have to pull it out, tell us a little bit about why you're a Spurs fan, Chuck, and your involvement.
Yeah, why not?
There you go. That's the right answer.
Excellent answer. Yeah.
The
All right,
more
moving
complicated
along.
answer is that I root for the New York Jets and the New York Mets.
Mm.
So Tottenham feels like home.
I get it. Yeah, I get that. I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan, and I support teams that don't win anything either.
Yeah, the last time I was happy with a sports team was 1994, and that was at your expense. So.
Yes, I remember that. I was young, but I do remember.
The fact that you guys are talking about 1994 as like a memorable sports year is really kind of throwing the age of this pod off. Like, we're going to lose all of our one millennium listeners because you guys are making us sound old as shit right now.
Hey, technically, Scott and I still fit into the millennial demographic here.
Yeah.
Really?
Just slide right in there, man.
Yeah, just under the radar. Anyways, Scott,
I'm good, man. Can't complain. I unlike some of these guys, I do have one title to a sports team that I root for under my belt, and it's the Astros World Series that was recently conducted. So I'm right there with you, man. I have nothing to report as a positive thing from my sporting world. So
Yeah, that was a
Right on,
completely
right
legitimate
on.
victory too, Scott.
all right.
yeah, I mean, even I
The
knew
one
that.
I really wanted, man, was that World Series. So
Mark got it.
I got it.
yeah, I mean that was the intention of what I said, right? To
Okay.
point out that my team is fucked.
The Astros are the leads of the
I'd like to point out that based on the analytics, we normally have about a 6-minute listen time. I guarantee it's going to be getting down after
It's
the
done.
So let's
Thanks for tuning in,
start.
guys.
Mort, I want to ask you at the same time how you're doing, but I also want to pivot to you in terms of 6-1 against Manchester United. You might have heard. Tell us about your reaction to that.
Oh my God. Listen, I don't like to talk about sexual things on this podcast, but if you are a Tottenham fan and you didn't have a chubby for the entirety of that match, then something is terribly wrong with you. It was amazing, man. That's what you call a dominating win against a team that you had to win against. It was, so funny, Andrew, because we were talking about this, right? Like, for me, Manchester United represents a 12-point swing. We're going to play them twice. They're in the top 4, top 6 conversation. Not only did we beat them, we fucking decimated them, man. I don't want to hear any of this bullshit about the red card changing the dynamics of the game. It fucking didn't. They scored that one goal. It was a good goal, right? It was great movement by Martial. He figured out what he had to do. He got on the inside. And I think Sanchez, as you'd expect, kind of fucked it up because that's kind of what you expect from him, make that mental error. And it was, yeah, right. It was kind of funny because we were kind of talking about, like, who's going to make the errors. My guess was Harry Maguire is going to make errors, and he did. And I think it was Scotty who said it's going to be Sanchez will make some kind of a mental fart, and he did. But ultimately, when you look back at this, that was a dominating win against a team that's in our competitive set. When the season ends, who the fuck knows where, like, Man U ends? But for us, that was huge. I fucking loved it. And the fact that it was right before the international break and on the back of that week we had, right? Yep. We moved on in the League Cup. We moved on in Europa. We had a phenomenal transfer. I mean, I still have a chubby. I should probably get that checked out. Like, I should call someone about this.
Dude,
see a doctor if you still have an erection after.
Dude, that's just the biggest thing, though. Is this was a week that the entire footballing world, probably a lot of the Spurs world, saw as a week that could potentially derail the entire season. And little did we know it was actually going to propel us forward in ways that, I don't think we've seen in a long time as Spurs fans. So,
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing before I get Chuck's input on it. So we can watch most of the league on DAZN. DAZN's a pretty solid network for watching all the games. I was watching a preview.
Wait. Is that like some like Canadian like free healthcare?
No, it's Russian. It's genuinely Russian.
Okay.
When it first came out, it literally played the wrong sound in the wrong game, and the games were sometimes sideways. But there was an interview conducted, and it was outrageous before the game. But the question was, who is more likely to lose their job, Jose Mourinho or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? And that was before the match. Can you imagine how idiotic a question that is now?
I wish Jose could have heard that question being asked. And oh man.
I mean, it's kind of funny, and like Chuck, I'd love to hear your opinion on this because you're obviously a fanboy. But I've already seen reports that the Man U board has reached out to Pochettino. We know that there was a relationship between Pochettino and Ferguson. We know they had that dinner in London. We know that the media ran away with it. We know that he's been linked with Man U for many, many windows. As a matter of fact, many of the pundits, the fuckwits on Sky, had linked, Pochettino to United. Chuck, what do you think, man? Like, is that shit for real? Because it feels a bit like Ollie's on his way out and Pochettino might have a shout.
I think, first of all, I'm not sure, in terms of, loyalty or whatever, if he would do it. But I do think that the Man U setup of the 90s and the early 2000s, where buy a few players every window, normally get your top choices and promote youth from within, is something that Poch would really like to do. And I think that just like when Poch came in, he had to clear a lot of dead weight. That would probably be the first year on the job, would be getting rid of a lot of those players. They have so many terrible contracts too. I think Jesse Lingard makes $150 a week.
Who has worse contracts, United or Arsenal?
Arsenal. They just signed that guy.
The party.
Yeah. He's
Party
making
time.
$230 a week.
240.
240. And I was listening to the Guardian podcast, and they were saying, because I've never seen the guy play, they're saying that he doesn't even play for Atletico Madrid all the time.
Yeah, correct.
Hysterical.
So they sold basically the equivalent of Christian Eriksen, who doesn't play for it.
Oh, dude. How are you going to do that when Ryan's not here to defend himself? That's hard.
I was also going to say, too, from what I understand, the way it works in La Liga is when you do a buyout, you have to pay the whole lump sum.
Yeah.
So
not to mention,
they committed all that money just right there. I mean, so when you look at, and I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name, the backup striker, Carlos Vincius, is that his name?
Vinicius.
I believe he's a genius. We rent the guy for $3 million, and then if he's good, then we could buy him.
Yep.
At what point do I get to start, for all the people that were hating on Levy and Yosei, mostly talking about Joel in Austin, fuck that guy. I cannot wait to come down to Austin and sit in his front yard and have a beer and take a dump in one of his bushes because, you look at what's happening at United, you look at what's happening at Arsenal. Hell, man, look at even what's happening at Chelsea. So much money spent, yet those teams are not necessarily performing at the level they should be, right? So it's got to be pretty exciting, to be on that kind of a trend right now. And, even if you look at a guy like Pochettino coming into United, I think that they have the players. They just don't have the structure. Same thing with Chelsea. They've got the players, but they don't have the structure. Same thing with Arsenal, right? They're doing okay right now, but you've got a guy who's to put out cones for a living now being your manager. So it's going to take a while for those guys to all get going.
Well, they played West Ham and Fulham.
Say that again?
They played West Ham and Fulham, and they edged by who was it last weekend? Not Southampton, Sheffield. They edged by Sheffield 2-1. So I'm still have yet to see it. This isn't a podcast about inferior teams, obviously, but yeah, I'm when they'd actually play somebody decent because they haven't yet.
Listen, they beat Liverpool, so
Yeah, but who doesn't?
Hey.
Fair, right?
For you guys, who do you think are the top managers in the EPL?
There's only one top manager in the EPL. Everybody knows who it is. Now, if your question is who's the second best manager, I think Carlo Ancelotti's got it. It sucks that he's in competition, but yeah, he's one of those guys that I love, right? He's been great for a long time. He's proven he's won the big matches. I think they have had a phenomenal window. I still do not think that they're a competition for top four. They don't have the depth for it. But to your question, Chuck, yeah, man, dude, fucking Ancelotti's got to be up there, no?
No. My point is that the the top managers in the EPL are not at United, the Scum, Chelsea. Like they don't like normally those are the squads that have the top managers, and like when the top managers are at Tottenham and Everton, I mean, I don't know. I'd rather have Roy Hodgson than like who they have at some of these other places, right?
Okay, listen. I know that this podcast sucks and we're really terrible at like editing, but can somebody add like
Is the 6
like
minutes?
like fucking hot take right there? Like
That's a hot take.
That's a hot take.
You would rather have Frank Lampard than Roy Hodgson as your manager?
I would probably take Lampard over Hodgson. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think Chuck's on
Is the point of the game? Is the point of soccer to give up the most goals? Then I would take Frank Lampard.
Oh my God! Listen, if I wanted to finish between 8th and 12th, I would take Hodgson all the time, right? Because that's what you're gonna get with him. I think with Lampard, at least, there's some hope because of his love for the club. And I mean, again, like we make fun of him, but he did all right. He was at Derby, right? He was a Derby. Yeah. So I mean, he did fine down there, and I think he'll get it right. Plus, I mean, they have so much money. But I mean, listen, I should not be one to be shooting on hot takes, but that's a hot take for sure.
I don't think that's a hot take.
Hey, back to your question too about when can you start roasting people for the anti-leave your propaganda weeks ago, man. Years ago, if you want.
The fact that you didn't say winks ago leads me to further believe this podcast sucked. That was a golden opportunity to say, but you didn't, and that's why we fucking suck.
Backtrack. Winks ago is when you could start, slating these Levy haters. But honestly, man, it's exactly why we refuse to sign people who ask for exacerbated, ridiculous wages, because it starts a domino effect, and the entire team wants a raise, and all of a sudden you're paying $50 million in wage increases. I think Arsenal's wage budget is $50 million per year higher than ours is, and that's like insane, man.
This is why we need somebody smart on this pod, because what I was going to do was mental math, right? So you got to figure between Ozil, Aubameyang, Willian, and Partey, they got to be over $1 million, right?
That's like, £1 million a week.
Easy. And here's the thing about
that's a Messi right there.
One time 52 is 52 million. Did that quick.
There you go. See, we got a math teacher on here. This guy knows his shit. No, honestly though, like even the Partey deal, again, this is why I love our chairman. You wait till the final hours to get a significant, beneficial deal to what you're working. They waited till the last hour to just trigger a full $50 million release clause. Like you said, you pay that up front. That's not good transfer business. That's just saying we'll cave and just pay you a super inflated amount of money because we have no other choice.
Really good point. That's a fair point, right? Like the whole point of negotiation, if you're the buyer, is to negotiate the price down and if you're going to give them the amount of money they want. It's like, ooh, well played, sir.
Exactly.
Does that remind you of like the Sissoko fucking last day, like $30 million for fucking Musa Sissoko, he was not even the better Newcastle player. Like Gigi was a better Newcastle player. I've never taken Mitrovic over Sissoko. Sorry, Scott. This is why I love like a virtual pod, because he can't kick my ass when I say shit like that. But to your point, that's a panic buy. That is a fucking panic buy, and you gotta love the fact that on the last day of the window, Andrew, I think I had messaged you. I was like, I'm so fucking calm. I cannot remember the last time as a Tottenham fan I was calm on transfer day.
Yeah, man. It was an incredible feeling, something we haven't experienced, me ever. Some of you for a very long time, probably. So
well, and at this point of the show, I'd like to remind everybody that as the host, I get the topics of conversation, and I like to go back to my comment about Manchester United, and we'll get to the transfer window here. So Scott, I'm going to give you a chance here. With the reaction to United. Let's walk through that a little bit here. We'll get to all the other stuff, but looking at that game, obviously we go down early, decent movement like Mort had said, followed by the penalty, and then it was just game on after that. You can go any way you want with this, whether you want to talk strategy, but mentality wise, so I just got to my screen when the penalty had happened, and then obviously Penalty FC, converted the penalty, but again, barely by the time I had sat down, we had already equalized. That has to be a mentality thing, right? We didn't just fluke our way down the field and into position.
No, absolutely, man. I think we've talked about on this show and prior shows we've done together. I think the first time we really dove into an issue with the squad's mentality, and I know it's a polarizing thing to discuss, but what was when we lost to Juve in the round of 16 when we shut off for 2 minutes. And that night we hopped on eSpurs USA and we dove into the mentality piece, right? I think we've talked about it recently, how Mourinho seemingly manages strictly between the ears. Like the other stuff comes, you focus on managing between the ears, and everything falls into place from there. Of course, that's a very broad thing to say, but you understand the point. And so I think we're seeing the result of a manager who understands how to manage between the ears effectively. And of course, he's got some signings in that have helped this cause. And, we can debate all day as to why, we haven't necessarily splashed the cash, but we've done really good business this window as compared to others. But still the point stands, we've seen a massive shift with our mentality. And I think that's back to what Mort brought up and I jumped in on, the fact that this week was such a pivotal moment for us, not in this season, but as a club over the last decade, in my opinion. And that's because everybody thought the wheels would fall off, because it typically did in the past. And we grew stronger throughout the week. We saw strong rotation. Those rotated squads did a job. And I think the biggest piece for me is I'm not taking away anything from anyone who's managed the club prior, but we now have a manager who looks at every single game individually and thinks like, how can I set myself up tactically to combat what we're going to be up against, as opposed to a Pochettino who said, I'm going to force my style down your throat. It's fairly effective, as we've seen, but you're going to react to me as opposed to the opposite. And I just think that's what we're seeing more than anything right now. And United, a prime example of it.
Yeah, well, and Chuck, I mean, even, in the United game, again, before the red card even happened, again, like you saw Kane and Son just telepathically playing. And that to me is one of the most interesting things, because for a while there, when the team was kind of, regressing, there wasn't a great relationship between Son and Kane. Like neither one of them piled up many assists. Like there was a lot of kind of dribbling into blank space, both of them trying to make things happen. But in this game, we didn't even think Son would be on the field at all. And he was remarkable. But again, like just wanting to know your thoughts on, again, after we went down, then scored twice, again, even throwing out the red card that happened. But I mean, what was your view on just the way Spurs reacted to that?
So one of the things that I think is really cool about like Mourinho is how much he embraces conflict. And, and like that, like to me, that builds resilience. So like, go back and watch the Amazon documentary, that scene where Dele and Dyer are like cussing each other out. And Mourinho is literally just sitting there, like watching them like cuss each other out and get really angry. And the scene where Son and Lloris are arguing in the dressing room, and he just sort of like embraces that. And I think that helps with resilience. And I would say that that's our biggest takeaway. So like when that penalty happened, I was watching with two of my friends in their driveway, and we just yelled, "Fuck! Oh, this shit again!" And then it didn't happen. And within minutes we're level, and then a few minutes later we're winning. And I think that that's the biggest thing that that he's put into the squad, is that resilience and that fight. And I hope that pays dividends. Mourinho's always the best the second year at a squad. So, yeah. And then I didn't really answer your question, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, nobody ever does.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, that's why you fit right in.
Terrible questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I thought it was a good question.
Yeah, I mean,
Do not pander to the host. Do not pander to the host.
Yeah.
He is Canadian.
Mort, it's called a compliment.
Your country.
What? What is that?
Oh shit.
I got to ask Scott this, and Mort, I'm not ignoring you yet, but Scott, I got to ask you this specific question here. The red card, Eric Lamela. Eric Lamela is a guy, obviously, who has divided opinion for a lot of us. Like, people have said, well, like, do we sell him to get somebody else? Okay, yeah, I'd be fine with that. Like, he's always had a nasty edge, right? Like, that's never been the issue. We all know the issue was staying on the field. But, like, I'm sorry. Like, I know not everybody what he did, but I mean, I'm sorry. Like, that is such a Mourinho thing to do. And I'm sorry, I'm taking up your time. I want to know how you feel, because you've.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you came to me on this. I think, Lamela, his head could have been taken off by what Martial did there. So he should have gone down. I mean, it was vicious, man.
Yeah.
No, of course not, right? It was extremely soft.
That would be an attempted murder charge.
Yeah, I agree, man. It could have taken the dude's head off, but no, all jokes aside, here's the thing. Like, that is something that would have happened to us years and years and years past throughout the entire, time frame that I just referenced. And we would have said, "Oh, that's unfair. You can't do that. That's bullshit." Like, but we were never willing to do that ourselves. And that's where Mourinho is saying, like, we've got to be words that we don't use, this side of the pond freely. And it's just obvious that we are finally, embracing the dark arts, the Italian dark arts that he probably learned at Inter. But why not put ourselves in favorable situations when the rest of the league has been doing it for a long time? And I understand two wrongs don't make it right, but like, I'm sick of rolling over and getting just flattened over and over and over and not willing to dish that back out. And simple as that for me. Well done, Eric.
Yeah, well, it's like Chuck had said, with the All or Nothing documentary, because during the City game, he even said, he's like, "Did you see they had a penalty?" And immediately after, they all rushed the referee to get another penalty. Like, they are doing things that intelligent C words do to win games, right? And like, you have to be nasty. Like, I mean, all of us in different aspects of our lives at different jobs. Like, how much would you have liked a guy like Jose Mourinho to come in and just clean house, get rid of the dead weight, and just win? I mean, like Scott, I mean, again, like like Eric Lamela is the perfect Mourinho player, and he had a yellow card. Mourinho took him off at halftime because they would have tried to bait him into doing something, and so he knew that, and he made that change. And again,
exactly. Yeah, that's what he does. He understands that Lamela staying on is going to give the referee, in my opinion, an opportunity to make a retribution call. Yeah. And Mourinho made sure that wasn't an option for the manager, for the referee. And I just think, like, back to Lamela before we wrap it up on the guy, he is, regardless of his ability. First of all, I've talked about his fearlessness and that being extremely important in the final third, right? But he ticks every single box for Mourinho. So, like, regardless of what's happening, goals, assists, production, whatever, like, Mourinho's always going to have that guy to run his mentality through on the pitch. And I think, like, this is going to sound really silly, and you guys are going to think I'm fucking stupid for saying this, but Gareth Bale is going to have to compete with Eric Lamela for minutes right now. And with seriously, like, he is, and that's how it should be. Like,
you gotta shut this shit. You're the host. You gotta shut the. You're like Chris Wallace. You're like Chris Wallace right now. Shut this shit down,
dude.
Hey, you're the one that controls the microphones. Cut him off.
You can mute me if you're the host. I don't care. I'll keep talking. But honest to God, like I premise that saying you're gonna laugh your fucking face off and think I'm stupid, and all credit and power to you to do that. But I think what I'm saying is Lamela has put himself in a situation where Mourinho has to
Yes, Andrew. Listen, Lamela has to get past Lucas before he can even think about getting past. Listen, I am a big Lamela fanboy. I have been since the day he signed that. I still remember the Tottenham intro video when they had his jersey being screen printed with the number 11, and that was Bale's number, and that was a big fucking deal. And I remember watching Lamela at Roma, and I remember loving him. And it sucks that he's never met his levels. I love him. I think that he needs to be a part of our best 18. I'm a huge fan of him, always have been. But Scotty, that's some dumb fucking shit you just said right there. You cannot tell me that Eric Lamela is the barrier for Gareth Bale to get our starting 11, Scotty. Come on.
Here's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just saying that Lamela has done himself so many favors to where Mourinho simply can't be like, all right, move out of the way. Gareth Bale's fit now. Like, he's given Lamela opportunities to continue to prove his value. That's what I'm saying. So, of course, there's going to be a rotation. Bale's going to play. Lamela's going to play. The two people that can't be dropped unless they physically have to be are Son and Kane. We know that, right? But we've got Lucas, we've got Lamela, we've got Bale. They're going to get minutes, but I'm just saying Lamela's put himself in a position where you can't simply just say, like, we no longer need you because we have Gareth Bale, and that's the mentality piece.
You literally fucking can, Scotty. You can literally fucking say, Lamela, hit the bench, or you're not making the roster this week because we've got Bale and we've got Lucas, and we may even have Stevie Bergwijn, and then we have you. Listen,
Well, guys, you're all wrong, and the reason is like it's not Mora, it's not Bergwijn, it's not Lamella, it's Jack Clark that stops Gareth Bale from playing.
Thank you. Yeah. That's the take we've all been waiting for.
yeah.
No.
Insert audio for hot take right there.
I was gonna say the thing.
Rewind.
The thing I like the most about Lamella is I think he's the perfect player to put on in the 60th or 70th minute if you're up a goal and you need to see a game out. I think he works so hard on the defensive end. Andrew, like, I know we've already mentioned hockey once. I'll mention it again. Like, he's a great forechecker, and I think he gets into a lot of scraps and maximum effort. And, you know, I think he's helpful maybe to hit something on a counter. But yeah, I mean, if Gareth Bale is, I think he's one of the best players in the world when healthy.
I've heard of him.
Thank you.
It's pretty good.
Of course, I'm never going to argue that. Like, I'm just saying that Lamella has put himself in a situation where he has to be in conversations. And I think that is strictly on the mentality piece, because who offers that shithousery dark arts that we're going to require at certain moments in our season, you know?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, like, we have 2 matches a week, every week through Boxing Day.
Yep.
So, I mean, everyone's going to play.
Totally.
Yeah.
And of course, no one in their fucking right mind is going to argue that Kane's son Bale is not the best front three that we offer, and one of the best front threes in Europe, without a doubt, right? If not the best. There's an argument there, for sure. So
let's pause on that, because that was my next thing that I wanted to ask about. So as great as, you know, post Newcastle, so as great as the win against Chelsea in the Carabao, the win against Haifa, now obviously the huge win against United, like, it actually somehow gets better by the fact that Gareth Bale hasn't even played yet. Like,
yeah,
like you look at that free kick sorry, not the free, it was a free kick, but it was the one that Kane took quickly and Son just raced in. Can you imagine? Like, again, I know guys like Bergwijn and Mora are quick, but like, they're not Bale. Like, they don't have that kind of pace and power that Bale has. Like, I'm terrified just talking about it, but can you imagine being the defenders anywhere on the pitch, and all 3 of them, you know? And again, like, Kane's not slow, but he's not, you know, as fast as those guys, but those guys are lightning. And you even add in behind that, you've got Reguilon now, who, again, he needs to polish his game a little bit, but like, he's lightning. He's so fast. Anybody can take that question. I'm not asking anybody in particular.
That was not a question. That was a fucking statement.
I know. And like, for once, I actually get to state my opinion on this show.
That's not your job, man. Listen, we all have roles on this pod. They're undefined.
Why you haven't paid me yet?
Oh, wait, fuck, am I supposed to pay you? No.
Hey,
No,
he's paying me well, man. You gotta get up to speed here, okay?
No. I mean, just to put a bow on the Lamella thing. I think he's a phenomenal player. I am very happy we still have him. A lot of our fans were asking for him to be sold. I'm glad he's part of our squad. And to Chuck's point, man, fuck, we've got a lot of matches, and you want guys like that coming off the bench. Lamella's only got, well, I think he may have only started in the Premier League once, but he's been in the match day squad 6 out of our 7 matches, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not counting, you know, obviously, but 6 out of our 7 matches, he's been in the squad, and he's gotten minutes in every single match. He's been on the squad across all comps. So yeah, I'm a big fucking fan, and it's good. But I mean, Andrew, to your point, I think with the way we're going to be set up, with that pace, I mean, you look at what we did to United, and you just hit the nail on the fucking head. We clobbered them with pace. We were coming at, I mean, there's a reason Serge Aurier started over, you know, Lenny Doherty, right? There's a reason Sissoko started over Winks. We had a strategy. We executed it. And with Bale, that strategy fits so incredibly well. And then looking out, right? I mean, if you look at who we have coming up, we have a bunch of matches coming up. We've got our Europa group matches coming up. We still have League Cup going on. The Premier League is kicking back off. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for us to use those chess pieces and figure out, do we need pace? Do we need power? And the brilliant part is we have all of it.
Totally, man. And again, that's, yeah, and back to the Mourinho thing, but what he's going to do every match is he's going to say, where are my opponent's weaknesses? And then follow up, how can I exploit those weaknesses? And that's exactly what we saw against United. I think we had a lot of the ball, too, against United. I wouldn't know the stat off the top of my head, but, again, it just shows that we're going to be very flexible based on what we're up against. And I think, you know, the team's buying into it. They're excited. There just seems to be an energy at the club that we haven't felt in, like, a very, very long time. And I think even under Poch, which I will look back as, you know, the peak of my football fandom, like some glorious moments under him, you know, but I still never had this feeling of like we're gonna go and win trophies this year. It was always like it was a good, heartwarming, like special feeling, where I was up in Austin or wherever city it was, like watching with my friends and just soaking in just this feeling of togetherness and camaraderie that was I've never experienced elsewhere. But with Mourinho, there's this extra piece of feeling that we can actually go and win trophies for the first time since I've supported Tottenham. So,
well, I think a big part of that, Scott, is the fact that we had arguably the best starting 11 in the league. We just had literally nothing for that, right? And so talks about, or I think it was Chuck had talked about, you can bring Lamella on to whatever you want to do. Like, do you need to press for a goal? Do you need to press from ahead? He'll defend. You need, some creative spark, which he obviously has in his locker room. But the fact now that we have all of these players, and I think like it's the fact that, again, like I've said to you guys before, like I don't have a problem with guys like Sanchez and Winks and Sissoko if they're squad players. They're not players who should be anywhere near an automatic starting 11. And now we actually have that flexibility. But question I wanted to ask Chuck, and it kind of pivots from what you had said, Scott, but just around, possession. And obviously, when up a man, we're going to have a lot of possession. But even before that, and even during the Newcastle game, despite the shit result that we got cheated out of, was the fact that we all of a sudden been able to string more than 3 passes together without turning it over in the offensive end. And I have to think that comes from the sense that we actually have competent midfielders now. And we haven't even talked about Højbjerg yet on the show. But Chuck, I want to ask you, and you don't have to just focus on Højbjerg, but, within Ndombele, Sissoko, and Højbjerg, like those guys were immense. Like how many, again, I don't have the stats either. Like that's Bennett's job and he doesn't have time for us anymore. But like how many ball recoveries did he have? Like he even had an assist. And again, same as Ndombele getting that first goal, but like he was getting in on challenges and maintaining possession. So I'm just curious to know, like how much has this midfield revolutionized the squad?
Hey, it was 6 recoveries, by the way, which is a phenomenal number for a single match.
That is a very good number.
Crazy.
Chuck, over to
I think the midfield's really good. I mean, like Lo Celso didn't even play, and Winks didn't even play, and like I really rate those 2 guys. I think I was really surprised at how well those 3 guys paired together, and I was kind of shocked with how well it worked. The one thing that I watched a lot of, like, when people on Twitter string together like every possession of a certain player, somebody strung together like every Højbjerg reaction.
I saw that.
Like there's like Serge like tackled some guy and Højbjerg was in the screenshot, but he wasn't part of the play. And you could see him like this, like he was like super in it. And so I think that kind of stuff is really sometimes, like everyone else will join in on it. And so I think that it's a really good mentality to have. I was also really shocked with, well, United kind of made it easy for us, but that through ball that Højbjerg hit to Serge was outstanding. I also watched, once again, somebody on Twitter strung together every Ndombele like possession and highlighted. I know this is probably a hot take, but like he does possess some qualities of Moussa Dembele in that it's very difficult to get the ball off of him. I don't think he's nearly as good as Moussa Dembele. Moussa Dembele, you never got the ball off of, but sometimes Ndombele will make some stupid mistakes and maybe try to get too cute. But I think like he's very like he boxes people out well, and this might be a reference that Mort probably won't get, but he reminds me a lot of like Vince Young in the sense of it doesn't look like he's running very fast or trying very hard, but like he moves pretty well. In that sense, it's a weird movement the way he runs.
That's a great shout, the Vince Young comparison. You're right, man.
Yeah.
Actually,
That's a terrible shout. That dude was like an absolute bum. Did he even like after he left Texas? Did he even do anything?
Won the national title. I think that's all.
The one thing
everybody knows that was a farce. USC should have won that championship. Everybody knows that. But no. I mean, I think the Højbjerg love is justified, right? I think he was our first signing in the window, and I remember all of us kind of on our WhatsApp group, we were all kind of complaining about how we have sorely lacked that defensive midfielder, which that's a player that Jose has always had, right? So, I mean, if you look back at United, he had Matic. You always had that guy who's in there playing the true destroyer, and we have that in Højbjerg. And To be quite honest, man, I just love his leadership, right? If you listen to the quotes, right, it's almost kind of funny where we had just beat United 6-1. I think all of us fans were stoked, and he was like, cool, it's a day at the office. I don't give a fuck. Like, I want to keep winning. And I think that's the kind of like continuation of mentality we need. I think he brings that. So even beyond just the skill he's bringing on the pitch, which I think is remarkable. And I think that through ball, Charles, you're talking about that went over to Serge for the goal. I think that was, a perfect example of his skill. But I think ultimately just him being a phenomenal leader is also tremendous for us.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of moments I can think of. One, when we were up, I think it was 4-1, and United had a free kick from kind of not far inside the halfway line, and he's still screaming at guys to get in position, right? Even though the game was, done and dusted, they weren't going to catch up at that point. But like, he still did not want to concede another goal. And probably my favorite moment of the match, honestly, was when we had a free kick, and he ran back and he acted like he was going to chip the ball into the box, and then he just went backwards and just like kept the ball away from United. Like, it was so gangster, just like the pause. And just a moment to like, again, like just knew that we had won. But I mean, like, he is just such a calm player. And like, I think, some people were jumping on him after the first two matches, but like the team was bad after, the first couple of matches there. But I mean, just having, a guy like that, like you said, I mean, and he comes from, Bayern Munich, right? Like, he has a pedigree. It's not like he's some no name. And no, he did have to take obviously a step down to play at Southampton, but like, that was a stepping stone for him. Like, he was always trying to get back into a bigger club. And now, like, he could be one of those guys. I mean, I don't even know if he's necessarily a DM or a destroyer, but he is a very competent center midfielder. And it's like, haven't had for such a long time.
Yeah, you're right, man. And the thing is like what I'm noticing with Corbière under Jose is like a destroyer doesn't have to sit at the base of the midfield. They can really be deployed anywhere, in the midfield itself. And so I think we're seeing him, even if he's deployed a little bit higher, he's still destroying, and he's still protecting that free roaming of midfielder, which tends to be either Tanguy or Gio. And he just buys them time and breathing room in the center of the park. So even if we have our destroyer deployed a little bit more advanced and our deep lying playmaker in a wings or something sitting deep, like, that's very effective. And this guy, he's a subtle signing. He's under the radar, but he's very, very fucking good at what he does. And I think my favorite thing about him, it's like, I wish I had a direct quote from his first interview. I don't. But I just remember watching that interview and thinking, like, very starkly, this guy's life motto is very, very mature for his age. Like, he the way he embraces life in general is going to translate into football, and he's a very, very wise person, it seems to me.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. Okay, we're getting down to the last couple of minutes here, so I want to end off with a question for the group. I want to know, are Spurs a legitimate title contender, and one reason, one way or the other? So Scott, I'm gonna stay with you, and I'm gonna ask you, are we a legit title contender? Yes or no, and why?
Yes, without a doubt. I'm actually going to say right now, stamp it. We're winning the league this year. I really believe it. Done and done. No. Hey, save it. And then come match day 38, when full-time whistle blows, I'm going to text you and tell you to fuck yourself. Mark it down, baby.
Do that.
But no, and here's the thing, dude. We have a world-class manager, arguably, top 3 on the planet. I know his history, whatever, top manager. We have the best front 3, I think, in arguably world football. Our midfield is taking shape. Our defense is taking shape significantly at the fullback position, which is crucial these days. But most importantly, we have always had the talent. We now have the mental approach that's required to be champions. And I also think some of our competition is going to stagnate a little bit. I think Liverpool's in a position where the only way they can better themselves is by spending significant sums of money. Like, Thiago for 30 million is great business. I think that's about as far as they could go as far as upgrading their squad. And I think we've been there to a much lesser degree before, where in order to upgrade, it was going to take some serious cash. And I think they're there now. And I think City's seems to be shaky. Now, it's very early days, and I think both of those two teams will compete for the title without a doubt. But I'm just saying the door's open, and I truly believe, and call it a gut feeling, I think we're going to win the league this year.
All right, so Scott's a yes. Mort, I'm going to go up to you. Yes or no, we're a title contender, and why? And I'm going to place this like, you get one reason.
Yeah, thank you for boxing that, because you fucking leave Scott open like that. It's gonna it's gonna be the whole fucking pod. But no, I'm gonna say no. I think no is because I think we still have a hole in defense. I think we have good rotation there. I like our defenders. I don't love our defenders. I'm not saying that Escarnier would have changed that. I still think that we have a gap in our defense, and I think ultimately that's going to come and bite us in the ass. So I do not. Contender's a weird word. Like, are we going to be in the conversation? Sure. Am I going to put money on it? Fuck no.
Fair enough. And special guest Chuck, what do you think? Title contender, yay or nay?
I agree with what Mort just said.
I like
You know,
it.
so like,
He's
I'll
a simple
narrate
man.
the audience here. So presumably, and actually, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Like I hear what Scott's saying, but I do agree. Like I don't like our central defenders. I was certainly hoping we'd get one over the line, and I really do feel there are going to be games that we just don't win or get points from because we can't keep the ball out of our net enough times.
Have
Yeah.
we had a clean sheet yet this season?
Nope.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I mean, we did against Leighton Orient.
Okay. Yeah, we.
What do we do? Oh God, I didn't want to be involved in that joke. We can't joke about that kind of thing. Fuck. All right, but I will say I'm glad that I can tell 3 people they're wrong now. That's a nice feeling. So
The odds. I just looked them up. They're 19-1.
Yeah, I was going to put $20 down because I think 20.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put $20 on it because it's like, to me, that's party insurance.
Oh, it's worth.
Wait. Are we talking about like 20 Canadian or like 20 American?
The 20 Canadian is like
Okay.
you get 3 American.
All right. Hey, listen. I know we're winding down, Andrew, but I want to do kind of a fun game with Chuck. Chuck, I'm going to give you 2 words 3 different times, and you can only respond with 2 words. Okay? So I'm going to say 2 words, then you respond. 2 more words, you respond. All right? Deal?
Wait.
Deal? All right. Here we go. 2-word question with a 2-word answer. First 2 words. Yellow rose. Come on. Really? Yes. Why not? I love it. For anybody who doesn't know Yellow Rose, it's one of the most wonderful strip clubs in all of Austin.
It's also an incredible IPA, and I think it's also the name of the prostitute that went up to Santa Ana. I think that was her name.
See, this is why we got to stop having like teachers on these podcasts, Andrew. They're always saying some shit that nobody.
And then I also think it was the national flower, or it was the state flower of Texas until LBJ pushed for the bluebonnet.
Jesus fucking Christ! Like, what a fucking nerd, man! Like we don't need this kind. Like our pod is shitty as is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Next 2-word question with a 2-word answer. Milwaukee drinking.
Fuck you.
So the backstory is Chuck was doing kind of a tour of the country. He was visiting some family up in Minnesota. So he drove through Milwaukee to visit. And I think it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night or some shit. I don't know what the hell it was. Or maybe like a Sunday night. I don't remember. It was like an off night, and we went out drinking. And a Tuesday night, yeah.
And I
just remember
out of Chicago the next day at like noon.
Yeah.
I had to drive to Chicago and drop off a rental car. And Mort stayed out drinking until I think like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was able to leave. He gave me a key to his house at 2:30. We were at this like sketchy, like, dude, that was a sketchy bar. But it was like a golf bar, sketch fest, where like the guy that was the bartender was like trying to hit on Mort's friend or something, right? Is that about right?
That sounds about right. And I'm pretty sure there was a homeless man doing cocaine in the bathroom. But
really?
It's a Milwaukee Tuesday, man. What are you gonna do? Chuck, last one. Austin Spurs.
My family. That was easy.
Hey, listen. I'm
I
feeling
was
we've
going
been
to
pretty
say
hard
this
on.
is. I even do this each time we put our recording on YouTube, where I check the box that says this is not made for children, which I will continue to do here. But I think we're going to close off on that note. So for special guest Chuck from Austin Spurs, for Mort, for Scott, who I guess couldn't handle any more of the pod. Oh, Chuck.
It was too many hot takes for Scott. I was going to throw it back to Mort. I've got 3 words for you.
Let's
And I
hear them,
want
buddy.
3-word response. Yids on yachts.
Ah, Milwaukee Summer 2022.
Post-COVID.
I'll be there.
Oh, I love it. Chuck, thanks for coming on this, man. It was awesome.
For Mort, for Chuck, I'm Andrew, and this has been the worst show you'll see all week. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.